Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. In today's lesson, we will learn how to make this really cute hat. I think this is adorable. The only thing with wearing my glasses, I hate how it sticks out a little bit there. But hey, that's what happens when you have to wear glasses. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you can make a hat, you can make this. So don't be discouraged, it is very easy. It is a double crochet strip that we thread in and out of the stitches. This is a treble crochet, so we will learn how to make a treble crochet. And then this bit is basically just a rectangle that we threaded through some of the stitches that we skipped. So I hope you enjoy the video. So let's get started on the lesson. So for this project, what we're going to need is a pair of scissors, a sewing needle with a large eye on the end of it, which makes it easier for sewing out ends. You're going to need a crochet hook that goes with your yarn. I'm using 8 ply yarn. That's also equivalent to double knit yarn in the UK and also sports weight yarn in the US and Canada. And I need a 4mm hook for that one. You can use worsted weight, so you're probably going to use a I or a 5.5mm hook. You are going to need 2 colours of yarn. I'm using this beautiful, I'm not sure what colour you would call it, it's like a light teal colour. It's absolutely stunning. So I'm using that for this hat. And I've also got some white here as well, and that's going to be the second colour that I'm using. So 2 colours are going to be needed. I mean, of course you can totally work this in one colour, but I don't think it's going to give that same effect in the one colour. Also, what I've got here is a tape measure. I will put a link below in the description box, or the more info box below the video, for a link to Bev's Country Cottage. She has excellent size charts for hats, so if you're not sure on the size that you need to make a hat for a certain age, you can use that as a guide. And so my hat is about 25 centimeters across, so that's going to fit about a 50 to 54 centimeters, or a 10 inch to a 20 inch or 20 sort of 21, 22 inch head. So that's around about a teenager size. It's not an adult size, it's about a teenager size. So what you want to do is make your hat, and you're going to stop short. You're not going to make it the length that you're supposed to the whole way. So I'll measure my hat so you can see what I mean. The length of my hat is 7 inches or 18 centimeters. So you're going to stop about 2 inches or about 4 rows from the end of your hat. If you know how many rows that you have to do for your hat, you're going to stop about 4 rows from the end, 3 to 4 rows. So what we're going to do is, I will put a link below to follow a double crochet hat. Then you will stop and have your 3 to 4 rows left, and that's when we're going to pick up again. So go away and make your hat. That sounded terrible, didn't it? Go away. I mean, go and make your hat and then come back to this video. So after we have our hat made, and this is going to work for any size hat, whether it's for like preemie size all the way up to adult size. And what we want to do to make the band part and the bit where we thread our band through, we're going to use the treble crochet. That's a US treble crochet. So we have to chain up 4. So when we do a double crochet, we usually chain up 3. This time we're going to chain up 4. So that's 2, 3 and 4. And for the treble crochet, let me just move that out of the way. What we do, instead of wrapping our hook once, we have to wrap it twice. So it's yarning over once and yarning over twice. So you've wrapped it twice. You go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. We have 4 stitches on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So it's just like the double crochet, except we've got an extra step. We've got an extra 2 loops to pull through. Just going to grab some yarn. And we're going to work a treble crochet. So wrapping twice. We're going to work 1 treble crochet in every stitch around until we get back to the beginning of our row here, or around, I should say. It's worked. So into, oops, so you've got to wrap twice, sorry, so I've wrapped once, so that's twice. Then working your treble, so it's through 2, through 2, through 2. Going into the stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So repeat this all the way around. When we get back to the beginning of the row, we will be joining into the 4th chain. Or if it was in a pattern, it could say join into the top of the chain 4. What that means is 1, 2, 3, 4. We are joining into that top chain, and I like to grab the first loop and also that back one. Some people join just through the 1 loop, but I like to do 2. You can do it whichever way you want. Alrighty, so that's that row joined. Now you will just finish off your hat however you like it. Now I'm going to work a double crochet row, so I am going to work 3 chains, yarning over, and then going into each stitch for a double crochet, and continue this around until we get back to the beginning. When we get to the end of the row, we will join into the top of the chain 3. So I like to grab that loop at the front and also that loop at the back. Oops, I've dropped my yarn. And just to finish this hat off, I'm just going to work 1 row of single crochet. Now, when you work a single crochet, it's a smaller stitch, so it's actually a little bit tighter. Try not to pull your yarn really tight if you normally do. You may even need to go up to a bigger hook. So working single crochet, because sometimes when you work that last row, it'll actually make your hat smaller. And if it was already the perfect size, then you don't want to be making it smaller, do we? So single crochet in each stitch. I am not pulling really tight on my yarn. Just want to redo that because that was actually too loose. I've got an even tension. I haven't pulled it really tight and I'm not pulling it really loose. Like I said, you can go up another hook size. If you want to make your hat smaller, then by all means have normal tension, and you could even drop down a hook size, so use a smaller hook. So that will just finish off the hat. So I'm going to continue around until I get back to here. You may want to put a stitch marker in there, if you can find one. Because, where is it? See, I can't even see it now. There it is here. You may come around and go, where did I start? So we'll pop that in there, and then we'll continue around with a single crochet, and I'll meet up with you then. When you get back to the stitch marker, we will be joining into that first stitch with a slip stitch. There we go. And we can finish off. I'm going to cut my yarn. We always leave sort of 2 to 3 inches, enough to sew in. Do a chain 1 and just pull our yarn out. So that's our part of the hat finished, and it looks a little bit weird because we have this really tall stitch, but that is where we're threading in our band thingy-majiggy. So grabbing your other colour, and I'm going to have to change backgrounds because I just realised white on white is not going to show up. So grab your yarn and get everything ready, and I will be with you in just a sec. So grabbing your alternative colour, or contrast colour, or whatever you want to call it, you're going to make a slip knot and make sure it actually works. And you can use the foundation stitch for this, or you can make a chain. And you know when we did our treble stitch, how we chained up 4? Well, the 4 is how many stitches that we want our little band section to be wide. I am going to use the double crochet stitch, I think. Yes, I'm going to use the double crochet stitch. So I want to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I want to chain 3. Or is it chain 3? Hang on. Bear with me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's better. So chain 6 all together. That's the easy way to say it. Chain 6. And double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. This is the one on our hook, don't count that one. So 1, 2, 3, double crochet in the next, so it's yarning over, going into that next stitch. And I'll show you why there was a little bit of confusion there. Because the chains that we skip counts as our first stitch. So it's 2 and 3, 4. So it was chain 6 and double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, and every chain across. And it's not going to be very wide at all. If you're using worsted weight yarn, it's going to be a little bit wider than mine, but not much. Now this little piece of the project is a great way to practice making like rows of double crochet, how you've got to pay attention to the first stitch, also the last stitch. Because I don't know if you've ever made a piece of crochet where you crochet backwards and forwards and it's gradually got wider or narrower and it hasn't stayed the same. It's because you haven't paid attention to your first and last stitch. So chain 3. And our chain 3 counts as our first stitch. And this hole here, see that hole there? That is our first stitch. And if that counts as our first stitch, we don't need to do one in that stitch. So yarn over, there's a first, we need to go into the second stitch because that chain 3 counts as our first one. Work our double crochet, yarn over, go into the next stitch. And if you look at that, you could be mistaken for thinking that there is no more stitches left. If you're, not really paying attention, you're watching TV, kids are distracting you, something like that, you're not going to notice this stitch here. And if you don't go in that last stitch, your next row will be one less. So what you need to do is this bit, see if I pull it out like that, you can see there's one missing now, can't you? Because there's this bit here that's not got a stitch. So yarning over and go through 2 loops. I think that gives it a neater edge if you go through the 2 loops and then work your double crochet. And another way, because we've only got 4 stitches, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we'd missed that last one, we would have only had 3, so we would have known something was wrong. But if you've got, so we're going to chain 3, if you've got a really big project, you may not be counting every stitch, and it's very easy to do. Like, I've even done it too, don't worry, it's not just beginners that do it, it's people that have had a bit more practice. So that's our first stitch. Chain 3 counts as our first, so we need to go into the second and work our double crochet. And in the next stitch, work our double crochet. And we're going to repeat this row until the band that we have, this piece of crochet we have, is big enough to go around our hat. And don't break your yarn off until we have weaved the band into the hat, because you may need to add a few more rows. You may need to take some out. It's a lot easier to do that if you haven't already cut your yarn off. So keep going until you have this long enough to go around the outside of your hat, around the base of your hat, so around this bit here. So I have my hat and I have my strip, and my strip is, just fold it in half, basically the width of the hat. So I may need to add some, I may need to take some out, but I still have this yarn attached. I have not cut it off because I'd rather just keep going than having to join the yarn back in. So where you're, I haven't even finished off my end, as you can see, where you finished your hat, or if you have a seam, put it at the back. This is where we're going to start threading. Now you can thread this however you like, and when you get back around the other side, if you're a few stitches or a few gaps or spaces out, it doesn't matter, because that's where we're going to put our bow. And we actually stitch down the bow a little bit, otherwise it kind of sticks out. This is from experience, it sticks out and looks absolutely ridiculous. So we stitch it down just a teeny tiny bit. So depending on the spaces that you want on your strip is how, so okay, so I've got my strip. You'll know what I mean. So you'll thread it in, and you're making sure it's not twisted, so you want to make sure it's laying flat against the hat. You can skip however many you like. So I'm going to skip 3. So I've got 3 stitches. I'm going to skip 3, go into the next gap. I'm going to skip 3, go into the next gap. So making sure this is not twisted. Skipping 3, going into the next gap. And you're going to work this the whole way around. Like I said, you could skip more stitches if you like, you could skip less. But whatever, actually no, ignore what I just said then. That's fine. So you're going to skip 3 or whatever number you choose, but I want you to stop sort of about 2 inches from the end, because we do need to use a few of these stitches as the bit that goes over the bow. You could use, I could use these ones because I've skipped 3, but if you've only skipped 1, you're going to need a few more to attach your bow into. That will make sense when we get to that section. So keep threading until we get to about 2 inches from the start. When I get to the end, I have a different amount of stitches left, but that's fine. I am going to use this bit for the section that goes through the middle of the bow. So I'm perfectly happy with that. You may need to adjust the amount of stitches that you are going to use. And now we want to just sew the ends of the band together. So I'm just going to whip stitch it together. I've already threaded my needle. You could also slip stitch these, or even crochet these together too. That would work. I don't know what the go is there, so we'll go back and stitch it together. I can crochet pretty well, but I'm pretty hopeless at sewing. Grab that stitch. I don't know why that bit there is sticking out so much. I think it's the knot that I made at the end of the row. It's going to be on the inside of the hat, so it's not going to show. So I'll need to sew in those ends. I'm going to sew in that one while I'm at it. And then we're ready to go on to our bow section. So there we go. We have our pieces sewn together. That actually might fit my head. Ooh, I might have a new hat. Alright, so we need to make the bow section now. Just grabbing some yarn. So what colour combinations are you using? These were just random. These weren't really planned for anybody in particular. What are you going to use? Okay, so the bow, again, we can adjust the size that we want to make. If you're using worsted weight, I'm using 8 ply, so that's a lot thinner. You can make your bow pretty much any size you want, within reason. Of course, you can't make it absolutely huge because we won't be able to fit it through those little stitches that we've got. So I will be making a chain. The width... Is that the right word, or the length? I will make the chain as wide as I want my bow, and then I will crochet up the height. So does that make sense? I'm going to make my chain as long as I want my bow to come out, and I'm probably going to make the chain... You want your bow to stick out both sides pretty well, so I'm going to make my chain as long as that, because that's my centre section. It actually looks like it's got a bow there, doesn't it? That's my centre section, so I want my bow to stick out a little bit like that. So you can use that as a guide, or of course you can make it any size you want. My hand's getting sweaty because I'm sitting in the sun. It's late afternoon, so the sun's come around through the window and I'm starting to get hot. Add a couple more. Now you can work this bow section, that's going to be okay. You can make this bow section in single crochet or half double crochet. If you know my videos enough, you'll know what stitch I'm going to choose. I'm going to do a half double crochet. Now if you do a single or a half, you are working into the second chain from the hook. This is our first one on the hook, we don't count that one. That's number 1 and that's number 2. So go into there. I don't know why I love the half double crochet stitch. I just think it looks better. It looks nicer. So we're going to half double crochet all the way across. So not only am I sitting in full sun, there's a lamp just here above the camera that you can't see. And that's making me hot too. Just not on a winner, am I? Anyway, we have crochet tutorials to make. We can't whinge about being hot. It's crochet boot camp. So half double crochet all the way across, or single crochet, until we get to the end of our chain. Now it will start to curl, or it even may start to twist around. That's perfectly fine. After the first few rows, say like 3 or 4, it will stop doing that. So chain 1. Now some people tell you to chain 2. That's perfectly fine, but I find personally with myself, you would normally skip that first stitch and then go into the second, but I like to, with half double crochet, with single crochet too, I actually like to go in that first stitch, and then when we come back on the next row, we actually ignore that chain stitch. We don't go into there, we only go into the stitch on the end. But you can see the sun coming through. I do have a curtain up, but obviously it's in the wrong spot. Alrighty, so we're just going to half double crochet across, then we'll make another chain and go back the other way. You're going to make your bow quite wide. Don't forget, when we put it into a hat, it is going to squish up. Squish is the word, isn't it? Squash, squish. So you can make, say, 5 rows and then try it on the bow section of your hat. And what you're going to do is thread this bit underneath those stitches, and it will sit like that. So you can sort of gauge as you go how many rows that you need. So I'll go do a few more rows and I'll be back soon. So I have my little section here. This is my bow. and it's about 4.5 inches long and about 3 inches wide. I haven't cut my yarn off yet because I want to make sure that it is the right size. So we will find the bit where we want to thread our yarn through. You may have a different amount of stitches. That's just how I ended up with mine. And you want to squash this together. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. So I'm like pinching it and like pinching it together, because we want to, I'm just like walking my fingers up, pinching it and pulling it together. Alright, so then I'm girding the end, and this end we need to thread through the stitches that we have here. So see what I mean? You didn't want to make it too big, the bow section, this white part, because you have to squeeze it through there. It's a little, there we go, it's a little bit awkward, but so you want to pull it through until it's halfway. Okay, so then you just got to play around a bit with it. Straighten it out so it's not all crunched up. Pull it through a bit more. Alright, so then you may just have to reorganise this little bit here to make it look all pretty. Still looks like it needs to come through more. So you want to sort of squish those up a little bit. You don't want those to be all gapey and holy. That looks about even, doesn't it? I need to go slightly over. Alrighty, so I know that's the right size, so I can cut my yarn. So I will need to thread in my ends, sew my ends. So that's pretty much what it's going to look like. How cute does that look? I love that. That is so adorable. So getting the same colour yarn as you got your bow, so I'm using white. Getting some white yarn, you just want to tack that to here, because when you've got it on your head, the bow sits like that and it looks really dumb. So you want to grab some yarn. I'll just show you what to do quickly, and then do the same for both sides, otherwise one of your sides will be sticking out. Bugger. I hate it when it does that. It's better. So I'm going to pinch, see how I've got that ridge? I'm going to pinch that. I will go through, I want to go through the white section. I'm not going to go through the back of the hat because, well, I can if it's in the white section, actually I can. I didn't want to go through the blue section because you'll be able to see the stitch. So just make a little tiny stitch. You just want to tack this down. You don't want to make a massive big stitch. I should have actually threaded that from the other side. Actually, I'm going to do that. Sorry guys. Come up from underneath. because you want your thread at the back, don't you? You don't want it at the front. Yuck. Okay, so it's coming out there. Just want to skip over a couple of stitches and tack that down. You can do a number of stitches there if you want to. I'm only going to do one. I'm going to tie that in a knot. Don't want to make it too tight, otherwise it will pull out. So that'll just make that so it doesn't stick out on your head and look ridiculous. So tie that. I don't normally knot things, but I think that needs a knot to stay where it should be going. So then you want to thread your yarn and hide your tail ends. Then you want to repeat it just on the other side of the bow. Alrighty, so I'm going to do that and I will come back. So here is my finished hat. I actually managed to get this on my head. It stretched a lot more than what I thought it was going to stretch. So I think this is so adorable. My hair isn't done, so don't pay any attention to that. But I think this is really cute, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Please share your creations on our Facebook page. You can also email me your creation, and my email address is in the box below. And there's also important information down in those more info boxes. If there's a written pattern for this hat, there isn't one at the moment, but if I make one up, it will be, the link to the pattern will be in the description box. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already, because there's always videos coming up. So thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crochet!